572-0383 or 572-0215. Rev-Up St. Lucia, the alpha of radio.
Join Dr. Leonard Suraj on Rev-Up St. Lucia Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. for Doctor in the House. This 1-hour discussion call-in program delves into the science of various diseases, treatments and medical processes, and offers in-depth explanations to empower listeners and help ensure a better understanding of healthcare for all. So tune in on Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. for Doctor in the House with Dr. Leonard Suraj, only on Rev-Up St. Lucia. Doctor in the House brought to you the compliments of La Place Saint-Lazare, Susie's Variety and Tapio Hospital.
At Tapio Hospital, caring and competent obstetric consultants will see you safely from prenatal care through delivery with a team of excellent pediatric and anesthetic support. Tapio Hospital, where the patient safety comes first.
You are the guru of groceries. You have a heightened awareness for lower prices. You journey to find freshness and variety and quality brands, and you have an acquired taste for specialty items. You want to set a good example for your followers. And that's why your higher calling is Susie's Variety Store. 2 stores that beat the giants on pricing, variety, and quality. Susie's Variety, small store, big love. Located in Cantonment, Vieux Fort, and Bois d'Orange, Gros-Islet. Telephone 458-4161.
It's delicious. La Place Saint-Lazare is the true home of quality meat and deli products, selected and priced to suit every palate and pocket. We sell all cuts of meat, poultry and fish, from tasty lamb necks and succulent pork chops to lean dolphin and juicy top round steaks. Our deli items include turkey, ham, bacon, pork sausages, meat patties, chicken nuggets, deli ham and eggs, so that breakfast or that party is a breeze. And for your added convenience, we sell restaurant essentials and grocery items. So where's your next meal coming from? La Place Saint-Lazare, of course. La Place Saint-Lazare, Castries, Gros-Islet, Vieux Fort, and Soufrière. It's delicious.
It's now time for Doctor in the House, live on Rev-Up St. Lucia, including Facebook, YouTube, and X. We're also online, and the program is hosted every Tuesday between 6 and 7 p.m. on Rev-Up by Dr. the very, very honorable. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Andre. Thank you for your most honorable.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to say Dr. Leonard Suraj. My apologies. My apologies.
Yeah,
I got a little excited there.
It is the message.
My apologies,
So,
Dr. Suraj.
I wish to welcome all the listeners and viewers to Doctor in the House today, Tuesday, 4th of November, 2025. Christmas is around the corner.
Yeah, we started playing Christmas music already on Rev-Up.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
usually in November it starts. Yeah, so today I will be discussing a topic on metabolic syndrome.
Oh, that's a very important one,
Very,
Dr. Suraj.
very, I'm sure you may have heard about it before.
Yes, I have.
And every time I speak of metabolic syndrome, I remember our good departed friend, Dr. Martin Didier. He was a proponent of it, and he believed in it, and he tried to spread the message as far and wide as possible. There's a big plaque at the Tapio Hospital that's written metabolic syndrome, and it tells you all the different ways it can happen.
Mm-hmm.
So metabolic syndrome is very central to the kind of chronic disease that we have. And when I say chronic disease, I mean the high blood pressure, the diabetes, and a whole lot of other things that you spend half of your income trying to control. So metabolic syndrome is an important issue. And a syndrome, when people hear syndrome, but a syndrome is a collection of signs and symptoms that is indicative of a disease. And you may have heard about Down syndrome. Is a collection of signs and symptoms that is pointing to a disorder, a chromosome disorder, and so forth. So a syndrome ought not to carry any big fear about it. It is just what they have noticed in science, that even before they give it a name, they look at what is peculiar to certain conditions And usually there is a single disease that causes it, but other time it may be more than one diseases. But a syndrome in itself is not a disease; it's a condition.
Mhm.
So that is, I wanted to just make that one clear from the very beginning. And the metabolic syndrome, you may have seen some people with a little pot belly that ain't going away, putting on weight. Next thing, they over the years, they develop diabetes. Over the years, they develop hypertension, and they may get a stroke, and they may get a heart attack, or they may get some arrhythmias. Is cancer included? Some cancers are included, yeah. So these things are what metabolic syndrome can do. And just to tell you a few of how do we know that somebody has a metabolic syndrome? Now, it can happen to men and women, not necessarily only men. A metabolic syndrome is you suspect somebody may have metabolic syndrome if the waist size is 40 inches or more in men and 35 inches in women. Now, you don't measure this thing any way you want. You measure it from the navel across. And because some people, especially men, when you tie their belt, below is a little smaller, but we don't look at the small part. You look at over the crest of the hip.
So we can't get away.
You can't get away from it. Over the crest of the hip and over the umbilicus, which is the belly button, and measure there. And if you are more than 40 inches in a male or more than 35 inches in a female, you have one of the symptoms. Now, the 4 or 5 symptoms I will tell you, you don't need to have all you need to do is to have 3 of them, 3 of the 5. The second one is a high triglyceride, which is the fatty part of the, when you do a blood test, they do cholesterol and they do triglycerides, etc. If your triglyceride is more than 150 milligram per mole or higher, 150 or higher, then that is another symptom you have to look at. If you're low density lipoprotein, now the low density lipoprotein is what they call the good cholesterol. Sorry, the high density lipoprotein is called what they call the good cholesterol. So if your good cholesterol is less than 40, that's another sign that you may be having the metabolic syndrome. If your blood pressure is 130/85, in the case of in adults, then chances are that's one of the symptoms. And finally, if your fasting blood sugar is more than 100 milligram percent after you've fasted, when you're not on medication. Now, don't go and take your medication and have a blood sugar of 100 and say you're good. It is for those who don't have. So, to recap it, the things you look for, if you have 3 of the following: a waistline that is more than 40 inches in men and 35 in women, high triglyceride more than 150, low good cholesterol, high blood pressure, and a fasting blood sugar.
You mentioned that blood pressure 130 over...
It is 130 over 85.
Over 85. So what if it's 130 over 70?
That is considered abnormal as well. It has to be, both has to be below the 130 mark. Because the top part is when the heart pumps, the pulse, that's your top pressure. And when the heart is in a relaxed state, ready for the next pump, that's the diastolic, the lower pressure. Both are important because the top figure in the pressure will give you the pulse, the pressure of the pulse that hits you, but it's only for a short while. And the second one is the retained pressure, the pressure head. It never gets lower than that. And so the lower part is supposed to be more significant than the upper part.
That's why I asked you if it's 130 over 70.
Yeah.
Because if you say in the lower is supposed to be the more significant one, and it's not 80.
Yeah, it's
70.
It's supposed they are saying that if it is more than 130 over 85.
If it's more than 130 over 85.
85,
That's
yeah.
what I was saying. If it's 70, 130 over 70.
Yeah, well, I'm saying that's okay. That
It's
is
the
more
borderline.
acceptable, but it is still not where you want it.
Mm-hmm.
You really should get both of them below that.
So Raj, you said if we have 3 of these,
3 out of 5, you can be considered that you have metabolic syndrome. And the reason why you want to know that, because there are certain things that are peculiar to metabolic syndrome. One of which is that it is difficult to lose weight. And it's difficult to lose weight because to lose weight, you must burn fat. Fat is usually the last to be burned if you are in a starve or if you are fasting. If you are fasting, the first thing that will go is the sugar in your blood. The sugar in your blood will go fast, and usually that lasts for about 4 hours. That's why every 4 or 5 hours people get hungry. So you eat a normal meal. After about 4 hours, the sugar that you have in the blood has worn out. So most people eat, others drink something, and so afterwards, the body is calling out on the other storage of sugar you have, and that is in the form of glycogen stored in the liver, in the muscle, and other places. That's a second reserve. Anything you want to protect, you put a little bit there and you put an extra bit somewhere else. So when one is finished, you have the other. So the body is made in such a way that you have the second storage, that is glycogen. Usually glycogen comes into play when you are finished with your sugar in the blood. Now, when the glycogen can last for about 6 hours or so. So 6 and 4, that's 10 hours. After 10 hours of no intake of calories or no intake of sugar, you get to a point where you have to call on the fat that you have. And the fat will now begin to taken out from all where it is deposited. Now one of the things about the metabolic syndrome, that you accumulate fat apart from under the skin, you accumulate it in the belly. That's why a lot of them have big bellies. You might find the legs are small, the hands are not so big, but little potty bellies or big bellies, because the fat is stored not only under the skin, but inside the viscera. What we call the viscera are the organs inside your abdomen, like your kidney, your liver, and pancreas, all that. So there is fat deposited all there. And even in the mesentery, and the mesentery is that substance or that fan of fat that is linking all the intestine. This is almost like a little apron. That is your. So the fat is stored all day. So there's a lot of fat stored in the inside. The fortunate thing is that this fat is called upon quicker than the other stores. So that's why they're saying that if you really want to lose weight, and we may get into that later on, is that you should get into starvation mode. And to get there, it is a little more complicated, but certainly in starvation, where you have withdrawn from eating, it will take you a while to get to burn fat and to lose weight. And insulin play a tremendous role in trying to do that. So basically, in somebody who want to lose weight, they have to get into a regime that will both restrict the amount you take, what you take, when you take it, and how much you take, and give you a period of starvation. As a matter of fact, the more recent thing is what we call the intermittent fasting. But that I will get into later on. But the intermittent fasting is where you fast for a long time to get to the point where you begin to use fat as for your energy. Then you may ask, why do you need all this glucose? Because even while you are asleep, the body uses energy. The body uses 2,000 calories a day. And you might be wondering, well, I'm not eating, why I need calories? But your heart has to beat, your breathing has to take place, your metabolism has to be regulated, your temperature has to be regulated, and all these cost energy, and the circulation and everything. So you need energy all the time. So if you don't eat and don't put any intake and use the energy you have, you must lose weight. But you have to be careful.
Because you can't live by not eating, right?
Well, forever, no.
Right, exactly.
But fluid is far important in terms of survival than eating. You can stay 2 months without eating and nothing, you don't die. You'll begin to eat your muscle away, eat your fat. After the fat is finished, then the body looks at the muscle and start eating the muscle. It's just like you eating yourself. You know?
Yes, yes.
And so that all that takes place before, and the last set of muscle, the body has it in a tremendous way. The first set of muscle you will begin to attack is the muscle that is the big muscles you have that make you, the big thigh muscle and leg muscle and buttocks muscle. You lose that first. At the very, very end, you'll begin to use your cardiac muscle, because cardiac is a power head pump. You cannot play with that until the very end. So people have studied starvation, both in terms of animals, rats, etc., or human beings that get trapped in different conditions, say a building, an earthquake, and they've been there a whole month. So these researches are telling us how the body uses different components when in the starvation mode, and so forth. So the takeaway...
But you certainly, Dr. Suraj, wouldn't recommend somebody, eating very, very little while not starving themselves to lose weight. I mean, you wouldn't recommend that. Like some people, like I know now there's a fad, 1 meal a day, that sort of thing. You wouldn't recommend that, right?
I don't think there's anything really wrong with 1 meal a day. I think it has to be fairly balanced, and you have to know you cannot do it on your own. You have to make sure that you do all your tests, etc., and find out that you're fit to be able to use 1 big meal a day.
But do you really think, Dr. Suraj, that anybody can maintain that as a lifestyle? 1 meal a day?
No, the average person, no. Because, as I said, after 4 hours of not eating, you feel a little peckish.
Yeah.
But if you can, and that's why some people, if they didn't eat and there's a hunger pang they have, if you can overcome that hunger pang, you don't feel hungry for a long time, and that's the time fat is being used. So, but you will not, and it is dangerous to begin to think of starving yourself just to lose weight. And they have these people who going run into serious problem with anorexia and that kind of
those
thing.
kinds of things.
So you don't really, because everything's about moderation. I have known many people who tell me, Doc, I'm not eating much, but I can't lose the weight. And that's a very common story. I'm sure you may have heard that. And so because they're not eating much, but they're eating all the time. So I tell them, take a piece of paper and write everything you have put in your mouth for the day. And you'll be surprised to see the amount of things you have put in your mouth. You pass open the fridge, pick up something, go out there, pick up something.
Oh, there's a little.
Little, yeah. So in other words, by doing a little and a little, the blood sugar never gets so low for you to call on fat. So you need that period of starvation to get into to the use of fat and the use of insulin.
But Dr. Suraj, I think we discussed that some time ago. I was saying the intermittent fasting, right? When we were growing up, most likely you went for the same thing. And I guess that's because, we were not that well endowed in terms of having lots of resources.
That's right.
But we were kind of forced into it which was for our good. Because by the time you come home from school and then you have your dinner about 6ish, 6:30, maybe 7 for the latest, which is normally an hour day, it was like bread and tea. Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Maybe some cheese in there, some butter, maybe. That was it,
That's it for the night, yeah.
Until the next morning when you have your breakfast before you go to school.
And you normally used to eat early, 6, 7 o'clock you eat already.
Yeah, so we were really doing the intermittent fasting.
fasting eh?
Yeah, without realizing it.
Yeah.
So you're saying that's the time when the body now begins to use the fat now for its for energy.
For energy.
Because you say even when you're sleeping, the body uses
energy because things are happening. When you're sleeping, your heart is still beating, your respiration muscles are still working, your GI gastrointestinal muscles are working, and your other hormones are taking care of your temperature, regulated, and so forth.
And Dr. Siraj, with today's world, and I think that's the problem. We have a number of challenges to deal with. For example, look at me here. I'm here I'm here every evening. So even if I wanted to have, say, my last meal at 6 o'clock in the evening, I can't. And I'm not the only one. You're talking about hundreds of people who in that same position, who are working doing shift work and this sort of thing, right? So what avenues do people like us have, where you can't have something, as I said, about 7 o'clock for the latest, right? And then do the fasting that you're talking about, the intermittent fasting for the next day, which is what I said what we used to do before. But we're not employed back then. We were kids.
That's
just
right.
going to school, and that was about it. But now that you're employed, or you have a business, or whatever the case may be, these things are a lot more challenging right now for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You here right now, Dr. Siraj, and I'm sure by the time you get home, by the time I get home, most likely we'll both eat something.
Yeah, and they always say you don't eat too late.
Exactly.
Because if you eat and go to sleep within 4 hours, less than 4 hours, chances are you'll get some acid reflux. Because the studies have shown that it takes about 4 hours for a meal to be completely digested in your stomach and to leave. If you have stayed your 4 hours, then there's not much chance of getting problem. But less than that, while you are asleep lying flat, the stomach is still churning the food. Some of the acid goes into your throat. But since you are sleeping, some of it spill into the windpipe and begin to give you a cough, a clearing of the throat, a constant.
I have that.
You have that. You have acid reflux.
I've been to see you on a couple of occasions for that issue already, and that's just because of the fact, the way I work.
Yes.
And that started since I was in the US, where I was working in a restaurant. I was working from like 3 in the afternoon until about 11:30. By the time I get home, I want to eat something.
Yeah,
you understand? So that's the problem.
Lifestyle has actually made it very challenging.
That's right. That's right.
Keep up these things that we're talking about.
I have a couple of questions, but I think you have a call. Somebody's on the line, so it's a good time to take. Okay, the call ended. Sorry about that.
Hello, good evening.
No, the call ended.
Oh, it ended.
Yeah, let me just encourage the people to call.
Yeah.
The fixed line is 572-9710, 572-9710, or you can WhatsApp 287-0971. WhatsApp is 287-0971. Again, the fixed line 572-9710, or WhatsApp 287-0971. So, Dr. Siraj, you were talking about the metabolic syndrome. Okay, let's just take the call. Somebody's on the line.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Good evening, yeah.
0971. So, Dr. Siraj, you're talking about. Hello,
yeah. Good evening.
Yes, doctor.
Thank you for calling, yeah.
You're welcome. Imagine this morning I saw a video on Facebook talking about that exact same thing. You're talking the fasting and what the body uses, the energy and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But then I am somebody suffering from a lot of gas. If I just eat too late, like maybe 2-3 hours later than I usually eat, I then get a serious gas problem. So with people like me, honestly, I've been wanting to do that thing, but I kind of say no because I know I suffer so much with gas. So if people like me that have gas, I want to go on a fasting, that's the easiest way I think that I probably would lose weight, because my cholesterol is not that high, but it's about a little high.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little pre-diabetic, they say. So if all these cases, I've been eating a lot differently for the past few months. I kind of lost 12 pounds, but it's not really something to talk about. I kind of want to lose more weight to get my health intact.
Right.
But then the fasting is something I would really love to get into. But if with somebody that suffers with gas, what do you recommend they do if they start a fast? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, the gas is different for, the meaning of gas is different from different people. Sometimes maybe they have not eaten for a long time and there is some air in the stomach, they call gas. Other time it is the acid in the stomach, that because of the food they eat, and they may have a very delicate stomach as well, that they may require some treatment, some acid treatment or acid reflux treatment before the stomach settles. But whatever it is, if the long-term fasting is not working for you, the second best is small, frequent meal rather than staying hungry and eating a big plate of food. The small amount of food means that a small amount of sugar gets into the blood, not high enough to stimulate a lot of insulin, which the high insulin causes a resistance from the fat being used, metabolized. So I think, back to her question, I think what she should do is, she may require some treatment in the stomach to get rid of the acid issue, and see whether small frequent meal can bring her diet down, and certainly 4 hours of fasting before you go to bed. And if you do that and you sleep for 9 hours, then you have 13 hours of fasting. So it's better you take your fasting while you are sleeping and extend it a little bit.
Okay, Dr. Suraj, I have the question on the metabolic syndrome. I'm going to get back to that in just a moment. I'd just like to remind our listeners and our viewers that this is Doctor in the House with Dr. Leonard Suraj live on Rev-Up, brought to you with the compliments of La Place Salazar, Susie's Variety, and Tapio Hospital.
Tapio Hospital Radiology Department offers 24-hour service. We provide you with X-ray, CT scans, and ultrasound imaging using the most modern equipment that produces the best images for your medical attention. Call the Radiology Unit at 459-2201. Tapio Hospital, where the patient safety comes first.
You are the guru of groceries. You have a heightened awareness for lower prices. You journey to find freshness and variety and quality brands. And you have an acquired taste for specialty items. You want to set a good example for your followers. And that's why your higher calling is Susie's Variety Store. 2 stores that beat the giants on pricing, variety, and quality. Susie's Variety, small store, big love. Located in Cantonment, Vieux Fort, and Bois d'Orange, Gros-Islet. Telephone 458-4161.
It's delicious. La Place Salazar is the true home of quality meat and deli products, selected and priced to suit every palate and pocket. We sell all cuts of meat, poultry and fish, from tasty lamb necks and succulent pork chops to lean dolphin and juicy top round steaks. Our deli items include turkey, ham, bacon, pork sausages, meat patties, chicken nuggets, deli ham and eggs, so that breakfast or that party is a breeze. And for your added convenience, we sell restaurant essentials and grocery items. So where's your next meal coming from? La Place Salazar, of course. La Place Salazar, Castries, Gros-Islet, Vieux Fort, and Soufrière. It's delicious.
Okay, welcome back to Doctor in the House live on Rev-Up St. Lucia. It's back to you, Dr. Suraj. And I was saying just before we took the break, the metabolic syndrome. Okay, you spoke about these 3 signs, if you will, we'll call it that, that something may be going on. And well, if you said it's a sign that something is wrong if you have all 3.
Well, the 5 items are a large waist, whereby your waist is measuring, if you're a man, more than 40 inches around the navel, or if you're a woman, 35 inches. if you have very high cholesterol, triglyceride, and if you have low of the good cholesterol, if you have high blood pressure in excess of 130/85, and lastly, if your fasting blood sugar is more than 100 and you're not on medication. So these are the parameters they say. And they always tell you that with these, people who have 3 of these 5s have a 5 times higher chance of developing diabetes.
Okay, and the other issues that come with the metabolic syndrome.
Yeah, so, and because these syndromes make it likely for other things to happen. To you. And one of them is diabetes, the other one is a stroke, the other one is a heart attack. Twice, those who have metabolic syndrome are twice as likely to get a stroke or a heart disease. And those people who have a high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and low of the good cholesterol, these 3 can cause the formation of plaques. Now, the plaques are calcium type of deposit on the inner skin of the artery. We call all them vein, but they're arteries and vein. The arteries are a big one with a thick wall that pumps blood, that carries the blood through the main organs. Now, the inside of it can get choked by these plaques. And if you have high blood pressure and bad cholesterol, then you are more likely to have this formation of these plaques. And most of the time, it is the plaques that narrow the artery, whether it's in your heart or in your brain, that will give you a stroke or a heart attack.
So let's just assume that somebody has one of those signs, right? Say it could be the waist. The waistline is, as you said, what, 45 inches for males?
40 inches.
40 inches for males and
35 for females.
35 for females. Okay. So they have just that one. But they don't have the others. Do you think over time, if left unchecked, if the waist issue is left unchecked, or whatever other symptom, the high triglycerides, or whatever else you mentioned a while ago, that if left unchecked, even if you don't have all 3, because some people might say, okay, well, I have a large waist, or a large waistline, but when I checked the last time, my cholesterol is okay, and whatever else, blood pressure is okay, right? So I don't need to worry about anything. But do you think that given time, if left unchecked, that the person with the large waistline will eventually develop the others?
I think so. And I think also that when you find that you find somebody with all the 3, with 3 of the 5, it didn't happen all at the same time. It may have been brewing for years, getting a little worse and a little worse. And the first one that declared itself maybe is the waistline. Maybe the second one that will declare itself. So, so it is a slow, progressive thing that you need to check. And I think from childhood and young adolescent, you should be conscious of your weight gain. And what we forgot to mention, we have not mentioned, certainly for the lady who called a while ago, that you must not leave out exercise. It must be an integral part of your plan to lose weight. And not only lose weight, just to be fit.
And even that, Dr. Suraj, I was saying earlier, the eating on time and eating how many hours before one goes to bed, because of this quote-unquote rat race, right? You want to make it. You want to make it. So you neglect those things. I remember when we opened the radio station, Rev-Up, okay? Before that, I was going to the gym regularly, okay? So because of the constraints of a new business and trying to get things organized, I found myself like an entire year I hadn't gone to the gym.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Yes, I hadn't gone to the gym. I said, what? An entire year?
And going to the gym takes, your life must be in rhythm. I don't know if you feel you must have a rhythm in which you operate. You get up, you do certain things, and anytime that rhythm is disturbed, say you travel and come back, the following day you can't go to the gym.
Exactly.
You have to wait until you stabilize everything.
And Dr. Suraj, again, when you're putting in so many hours into work, you're putting so many hours, by the time you get to your home and you eat something, you're not in any mood to go to any gym or anything.
That's right.
For you to do that, you have to literally force yourself or make yourself do it. And as I was saying a while ago, it was an entire year I hadn't been to the gym, and I was beginning to feel it.
Okay.
You understand? I was in the way my skin was getting a little soft. It's like I was looking a little smaller. I was like, whoa, what's going on there? Mm-hmm. So the challenge for me was, how do I now balance work and the gym? And I didn't know what to do, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I had not, because most gyms in St. Lucia, they close by 6 o'clock, somewhere around there.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay? Mm-hmm. But guess what? I don't know. I should say maybe God worked it out. I don't know.
Mm.
I was driving in the Fuasho area one day, and I saw the old Labord's gym.
That's right. Yeah.
And I said, let me just drop by just to ask them how things operate and what's the latest I can come to the gym. And they said to me, what do you mean latest?
He's open 24 hours.
Yeah. I said, what do you mean latest? And they said, no, we come anytime. I said, what do you mean come in anytime? So it's a 24-hour gym, and that, I mean, is a godsend.
That's right. Yeah.
So now I have to now go there at nights.
Yeah.
And you know the amazing thing, Dr. Suraj? The amount of the amount of people who come there at that time.
Really?
Sometimes you can't even get a parking space.
Well, I know, because I go to that gym recently. Because, like you, I used to go to Labord's, and they closed down, and for a long time I didn't. And I discovered that this was available, so I joined it. Yeah, but I agree with you that you don't get a parking sometimes. I have to park way up by towards the Victoria.
I was thinking by the time I get there, 8 o'clock, 8:30, that the place will be empty, and that is not the case. So a lot of people are going to the gym at nights because they do not have the time during the day. So, and that takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
A lot of discipline, because by the time you get home, you're no mood to go and do that sort of thing. So I'm bringing this up because the reality is that there may be people out there who want to do those things, who want to get it right, who want to live a healthy life, and as you said, they go exercise and so on.
Yeah.
And it's just so challenging.
But there are, while we are on the gym and exercise thing, there are tremendous benefits you can derive. Not physical benefit, your mood, your temperament, your ability to break a fall, the strengthening of your muscle, standing up from a sitting position. You don't have to be holding there. So all these things.
Yeah.
And you begin to feel it after a while. You just begin to feel. You just feel lighter because your muscles are stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that and your respiration works better. Your sleep gets better. So there are lots of benefits that can be derived, non-physical benefits, your mood and your temperament. Yeah.
Let me ask you something, as Dr. Suraj. The typical person who's listening right now and probably saying, okay, I have one of those signs, of the metabolic syndrome. I have that. So let me ask you, how does the typical person get to that stage where their waistline is 40 inches for the males and the females 35? What is going on?
They start off in their youth, usually normal size, etc. And they enter into a routine of maybe they eat more than they should at the wrong times. Maybe they overeat. Maybe they don't do enough exercise. And the years roll by, they're not doing much physical activity because they figure out going to work and back is enough exercise for me. But when you are in a gym or in a structured exercise, you tend to exercise more of your muscles than just the ones that you walk with. So, and I was arguing that with a farmer. I said, well, when you are doing your pickaxe stuff or you have a shovel, only a few set of muscles you're using, and there are many muscles that never see the light of day. And sometimes when you twist and bend and pick up a bag from the back seat when you're in the front seat, that strain give you a pain for a long time. And it's because these muscles are not used to be stretched. And so structured exercise is better. So yes, so it is unchecked situation where your weight begin to go up. You don't do annual checks. You don't know how things are happening until you realize that, hey, but my clothes not fitting me.
And Dr. Suraj, just to add to that, keep your thought. When we are young, we don't see anything like we eat what we want, we drink what we want, we do all kinds of things, and you don't see anything. In fact, if anything, your metabolism is so high that you just burn the fat just so you don't see anything happening. So I think we believe as though we can live like that forever because I'll just burn it off. I'm fine. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because there's something called the metabolic rate, the basal metabolic rate. It's just like the rev on your car. If your rev is high, you're going to burn more fuel. And similarly, the heart rate and the metabolic rate of the person, some of them are such that they just burn more energy. But as you age, the metabolic rate slows down. So what would not have allowed you to put on weight, say, when you were in your 20s, when you're in your 40s, 50s, you're more likely to put away stuff.
Yes.
And so you have to, by the time you turn 35, you must be looking at taking more precaution and be more judicious about what you eat, what you drink, and the excesses of things. So I think that this is a lesson to be learned from that.
Yes.
Yep.
So Dr. Suraj, I was asking you a while ago how we got to that stage, and what can we do now to stop it, to reverse it? Because if we have one symptom, and you're saying if it's left unchecked, it's quite likely we'll have the other one and the other one and the other one. And I think you did mention earlier, and that's very important. It's extremely important. You said that if it's left unchecked, you're talking about the possibility. You said so. Some cancers.
Yeah. And
that's the dreaded one.
The cancers we're looking at is they tell you that if you have the metabolic syndrome, the chances of certain cancers are possible. One of them is colon cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer. These things have been associated with the extra weight and extra metabolic syndrome and the manner in which the body metabolizes things.
By the way, remember, was it last week when you had the representative from the Cancer Society? Remember she was saying that breast cancer is the number one?
That's right,
killer,
number one,
killer of women in St. Lucia.
Yeah, definitely. And many women who have metabolic syndrome also have they have hirsutism, which is hair growing on the face, and they have the PCOS, which is the cyst on the ovarian cyst.
Wow.
Ovarian cyst and these things. Usually, you find more people who are obese tend to have more of that because
that's interesting.
It's a hormonal thing, and the large amount of fat produces more hormones with it. So you find that happens.
So is it possible, Dr. Suraj? Because I think, is it possible that the high rate of breast cancer we have in St. Lucia could be as a result of these health issues, the metabolic syndrome?
I think to a much lesser extent. The association of breast cancer has been predominantly, what they say is that the estrogen that the female, because the female produces estrogen and progesterone, and these two are the one that cause the period to come and go, the fluctuation between the two, produced by the ovary. But if your breast is exposed to the estrogen for an uninterrupted time, in other words, you never had any children because when you are breastfeeding, etc., the estrogen is less, so you produce less hormone. So people who have fewer children or no children at all are more likely women to have breast cancer because it is thought that the hormones bombard the breast more continuously. And so that is one of the reasons they have breast cancer, etc. And some other breast cancers have the estrogen receptors on it. And these people do better because all you do is to block the receptors and there's nothing driving the tumor anymore. So yes, but to your question about
how do we stop it? How do we turn this around?
Yeah. First of all, I think that by the time you turn 35, you should be doing an annual check, whether you are men or women, because there are little things that you may not know happening and is happening to you and you wouldn't know. Maybe a blood test might show, a urine test might show something. And if you really want to live long, these are the things that you must look at. Don't wait until you are terribly overweight to begin to look for answers. It's just more difficult to take care of. So that is one aspect of it. Two, we have a culture of eating a lot, drinking a lot. Alcohol is also associated with an increased incidence of that. It could be because of alcohol lowering your immune system and cause it. Don't know. But these are what research has shown that's happening. So how you counter that, as I said, regular checks, do certain blood tests, and have a proper examination. And if you find that, hey, look, my weight going up, although I didn't mention weight there, but I think weight is such an easy thing to check that I think you should be checking your weight all the time to see if you're losing weight or gaining weight and so forth. And so these are the things that will let you know if you're not on the right track.
Right. So okay. So I go to check, and everything is coming out. If I come to see you, Dr. Siraj, you do all the tests and everything, and it's not looking good. Right? I have the high triglycerides. I have high cholesterol. I have high blood pressure. I'm already pre-diabetic, diabetic, things like that. Because I take your advice. I go to the checks.
Yeah.
At that point now, what happened? Is it all over for me?
No. You can reverse many. As a matter of fact, if you have metabolic syndrome and you begin to deal with the issues, you are likely to reverse it. Even the blood pressure can get better. The cholesterol will get better. So you have to look at it and consider that you are making a lifestyle change. Whatever changes you make must be something you can live with.
But what does the typical doctor say to that patient, Dr. Suraj?
The doctor will say, well, your cholesterol is high. First of all, we will restrict your diet to see if we can bring the cholesterol back to normal without medication. If after 3 months and you've tried your best and your cholesterol is still high,
but what would you say to the patient? What would you say? Let's try to bring it down. What would you say to the patient?
Stay away from fatty foods, especially animal fat, protein, fat, etc. Do some exercise. Try to eat smaller meals and balance your meal. The recommendation is 50% of your plate must be fruits and vegetables, 25% must be protein, and 25% must be carbohydrates. The average plate of food you go and buy, 80% carbohydrates, 20% fat, and usually they give you might get the pork fat and the lacquin and everything. So even the protein is highly fatty, and a little suggestion of shredded cabbage and thing on the side. So that's not the meal you want.
So carbohydrates now, what would that be? What does that look like on the plate?
Right. Carbohydrate is the starch, and the starch is the sugar. So sugar is equal to starch is equal to carbohydrates. They're the same. In your system, and carbohydrates is all the food like the rice, the flour, all the pasta, the yam, dashin, all that's carbohydrates.
But doesn't the yam and the dashin have fiber?
It has fiber, maybe more fiber than pasta.
Right.
of course, but it does have more fiber, and even the rice that is brown has a little more fiber than the shiny white rice.
Because remember, in St. Lucia, we're asked and encouraged to eat local.
Yeah.
So the local will be the dashin.
I think it's a good, and you see, the local food like the dashin, the yam, the plantain,
breadfruit,
the breadfruit, yeah, they release the carbohydrate a little slower than if you are taking flour. So it is not an untruth to say that when people say, well, I don't eat bread is making me put on weight. The excess of anything will make you put on weight. However, there are some carbohydrates that are more readily, the sugar is more readily available, and as a result, it will, when you eat the pasta, and that's why they tell you people who eat Chinese food, they get hungry quickly, because the pasta and thing, it absorbs fast, get into your blood system give a very high peak, and so the insulin comes in and just bring it out, bring it down, and therefore you're hungry again. So it is a speed at which it leaves. For example, they will tell you Quaker oats, very good. Some people, the bodybuilders tell you Quaker oats just stick in your chest, in your ribs, because it just does not digest quick. So when you eat Quaker oats, you don't feel as hungry as quickly as other things. There's a lot of fiber in it, and the fiber releases the energy slowly, as compared to other.
As you said, the pasta, the white rice, and so. So let me ask you, Dr. Siraj. I mean, I know you're not an expert. That's not your field, really. But you know, you with all kinds of experts where you work and
right.
you have your business. So tell me, why are these foods creating these problems for human beings? I mean, aren't they food? It's a food, right?
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
I think a lot of it is, what you'll find is that if you look at the older times when people were working harder, there were more manual labor, more hard work, and people were not as obese as they are now. And every third world country that is developing from a peasant type economy to a more lucrative type of economy, you begin to see the signs of obesity, the signs of chronic disease, the signs of all the first world type of problems. And whereas in the very much earlier on, say about 50 years ago, most of the deaths were by either infection, a lung infection, a chest infection, a pneumonia would kill you. Now infection hardly kill you. It is diabetes, high blood pressure, and the other things. So even the disease pattern is very congruent with the wealth of the country.
Well, that is true, Dr. Siraj. And as I was saying earlier, when we were kids growing up, you didn't have much of a choice. You come home, you get bread, you get tea, and you go to sleep.
That's right.
Now, you're working now and you're making money. You're making money, so now you could be troublesome. You could enjoy all the things that you feel that you would be denied when you were a young person.
And it is nice too.
Yeah. I remember when I was a young, I wasn't working as yet, my early teens, and I used to buy. There's this bakery on the chaussee. I think. I forgot what it was called, opposite where you have the credit union there. A bakery used to be there.
Not Karas Bakery.
It wasn't Karas. It was called something else. Anyway, and I used to see this delicacy that was in there, but I couldn't afford it. I didn't have the money. I just didn't have the money. Right? I used to look at this thing. I say, boy, if I only had money to buy that thing, it looked so good. Right? If I only had the money. And not too long after that, I started playing in a band, and I started making money. And I said to myself, now is my time now to go after this thing.
That's right.
Which I did. And maybe a good 6 months after that, a fellow said to me, hey, Andrew, you put on some weight, man. And that's the first time I heard somebody say that to me. Put on some weight, man. And I started trying to figure out what was I doing now that was creating that problem. Another thing I always wished I could have as much as I wanted to was pizza.
Okay.
So now I can enjoy the pizza.
Yeah.
Not realizing now that this thing,
there's a lot of oil in it.
creating problems. So we're living in a different world right now. Okay, where everybody or most people, are doing much better financially and so on. And as I said to you, long hours at work and all those things that come with the modern way of living. So, Dr. Suraj, before we leave, any advice, to people like me and others who have to deal with this thing? And don't forget, you have family as well.
Yeah.
You have responsibilities. You have children. They're demanding your time, either to help them with the homework or to play with them. Those sorts of things. Let's go for a drive. All that seems to kind of take away from you being able to do the things that you're supposed to be doing. So how does one deal with the rat race that is there right now?
Well, for one thing, from a food point of view, you find that children love the salty stuff, the sweet
That's
stuff,
true.
etc. So it is so easy to keep the child quiet by just giving them a little snack and or different corn curls or different things. But a lot of the studies is showing that you have to restrict that from the children. For one thing, it damages their sense of taste, and for the rest of their life, unless they make serious changes, they will always go for this highly salty and the salt is what really causes your blood pressure to go up. And I think that in our Caribbean setting, the salted pork and the salted meat, that during the earlier days there were no fridge. So when this thing comes from overseas, they come salted. Everything is salted fish, and that has its effect on the rate at which high blood pressure is rampant in the Caribbean, and they think it's off the slave trade and that kind of thing.
Yes.
So one thing I would say is that as we get more prosperous, we tend to have to go for high-end things, and a lot of it is dangerous. Secondly, our culture is a main culprit, and I've mentioned that before. We are in a culture that everything is highly seasoned, highly high salt, high sugar, high oil. And we love our fat pigtail and that kind of thing. So all these things have the ill side of it. Moderation is always the best thing. I mean, there's nothing that stops you from eating something that you like, but don't overdo it, not because you can afford it to overdo it. Also, I think government has a role to play in it, in the sense in directing schools and directing people and restricting the rampant use of these things. Because
you mean educating people on those matters?
Yeah. And also the children obesity is getting higher and higher. Now at the end of the day, it is me and you and all the taxpayers that will be paying for the problem. But we, as a country with limited resources, we must know that you try and spend your money in areas where it actually can be more profitable than just appeasing people's habits. And therefore I think that what I would like to say is that it's a combination of judicious eating, being knowledgeable about what is best for your health.
And you said exercising moderation.
In moderation,
yeah. Right? But let me ask you, Dr. Suraj, how can we be moderate when it is so challenging? Because these goodies taste really good.
I know.
And there's something about them that it tastes so good, you find yourself going after it. Okay? There are times, I've said so publicly many times, I love ice cream. I love ice cream. I love cake. These two things, you're going to call I'm having a weakness, that's it. Okay?
Ice cream and cake.
And there are times when I go to the supermarket, I have to literally avoid a certain aisle. Because if I pass it and I see those things,
you want to buy it. Yeah, but...
So, how does one become moderated? If you have some and you say, okay, no more, and that thing is calling you.
Yeah, it's a discipline. Now, it can be, you can get addiction to sugar by craving for it, and it tastes nice, and you crave for it. And
Of course.
It's good on the palate. But I think that anything you want to do, you have to exercise some discipline. Because the same discipline you don't have, when you get a heart attack, when you get a stroke, you would have to do it.
Yeah, and if you survive.
And if you survive.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore you're doing it after the fact. And so in planning your life from very early, do try to stay away from these addictive things. It's not only drugs that are addictive. Sometimes eating, sometimes the time you eat, you come home out of stress, you eat. And I think also that we must have more behavioral modification services that will say, well, look, every time I come home I feel I must eat that. Can you help me to get away from it in terms of habit formation, etc.? Because this habit formation can actually cause a lot of problems. Sometimes you eat not because you're hungry, but because you're stressed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you ate and 2 hours afterwards you're hungry. It's not hunger, it is to release some stress.
I was listening to a pastor preaching many years ago. I was in the US, and I remember they were talking about exercise and what are we talking about here right now? The diet and things like that. And I remember he said to this person who was also like a preacher, but was also a dietitian.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him saying to this person, would you pray and ask God to help me to control my desire for these bad things?
Mm.
Now, and I found that to be, huh? You're in my mind I was thinking, well, you're a man of God, you should be temperate and that sort of thing. Why do you have to ask God to help you to control that?
Mm.
But I think it's not so far-fetched. Because if you're saying that we can go to, because you spoke about behavior modification.
Yeah.
That's something that you have to get from some professional, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't that far-fetched when he said that.
Because the fact that you're asking, and that's the beauty of prayer, the fact that you can ask the Almighty, who is bigger and stronger and to whom you relinquish your power to, and ask for the strength.
Mm-hmm.
That alone in asking can give you the strength.
I get you.
So you mustn't underestimate the faith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I heard it the first time, I said, why is he asking for something like that?
Yeah.
To me, you're supposed to be able to do that on your own. But as you said, apparently when you see we get so addicted to these foods and so on, it's really, really hard to turn your back. Or no, not turn your back, but at least exercise the moderation that you're talking about.
And the last thing I want to mention is that something we hardly talk about, the psychological effect of a young person who's very obese and feel as though they don't belong to mainstream. They become very negative. Their perception of themselves is not very high, and you find that if you don't counsel them properly, they may lose a lot of the enthusiasm and the strength, the positivity, and it happens anytime you look different from other people, you always feel away. But
and you spoke about young people. I'm sure there are older people going through the same issue.
Oh yes. But so it does have a psychological effect, and sometimes people behave differently, and they may cry and they may break down, and you don't know why. And so I think feeling good about yourself is a very important thing. And I think that all of us should try and see how we can go back on the drawing board, see where we have dropped the ball, and take a path that we can sustain.
Including asking for help.
Asking for help.
Yes.
Right?
All right, Dr.
Well, thank you very much for being my guest.
That's what I'm here for.
Yes, and listeners and viewers, I hope you learned something from what I said. And the lady who asked the question, I'm happy she did ask it, and so forth. So next time, I'll be here again at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Dr. Suraj. And again, I always have to thank you for your service, not only here at Rev-Up, but of course in your professional life.
No problem.
We know you're serving the public, and I want to thank you very much for what you're doing.
Good. Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
And I'll make a recommendation that you be knighted.
I know someone.
Have a good night.
Okay. Take care.
So, to our listeners and to our viewers, wishing you a good night as well. We have to say so long. Tomorrow morning, God willing, you can join me from 5 o'clock for Wake Up and Live. So this has been Doctor in the House, live on Rev-Up St. Lucia with the compliments of La Place Salazar, Susie's Variety, and Tapio Hospital.
At Tapio Hospital, we operate a 24-hour emergency service for all your urgent healthcare needs. Our qualified medical specialist will be on hand to ensure that you receive the best of care. Call us at 459-2617. Tapio Hospital, where the patient safety comes first.
You are the guru of groceries. You have a heightened awareness for lower prices. You journey to find freshness and variety and quality brands, and you have an acquired taste for specialty items. You want to set a good example for your followers. And that's why your higher calling is Susie's Variety Store. 2 stores that beat the giants on pricing, variety, and quality. Susie's Variety, small store, big love. Located in Cantonment, Vieux Fort, and Bois d'Orange, Gros-Îlet. Telephone 458-4161.
It's delicious. La Place Salazar is the true home of quality meat and deli products, selected and priced to suit every palate and pocket. We sell all cuts of meat, poultry and fish, from tasty lamb necks and succulent pork chops to lean dolphin and juicy top round steaks. Our deli items include turkey, ham, bacon, pork sausages, meat patties, chicken nuggets, deli ham and eggs, so that breakfast or that party is a breeze. And for your added convenience, we sell restaurant essentials and grocery items. So where's your next meal coming from? La Place Salazar, of course. La Place Salazar, Castries, Gros-Îlet, Vieux Fort, and Soufrière.
It's delicious. Rev-Up St. Lucia is located at Unit 4, Gablewoods Mall, Sunny Acres, Castries, St. Lucia. Tune in on 95.9 FM or online at revupslu.com. Call the studio at 572-9710 or WhatsApp 287-0971. Call the office at 572-0383 or 572-0215. Rev-Up St. Lucia, the alpha of radio.